Hey, good morning, guys. It's Monday morning here at the Oldbarn Homestead. My name is Gary. I want to just mention right out of the gate that this channel is for vlog type videos, right? There's not really a lot of action welding projects, machining, that kind of thing on this channel. If you're looking for that, it's on the Turbo Cobra channel. And I realize people that subscribe to both channels, when videos show up in your feed, you don't naturally differentiate the two different channels. You just see it's another video from me. But I just want to keep pointing out that this channel, the Oldbarn Homestead, is really meant to kind of just show behind the scenes, what's going on in the shop, new tool purchases, ask questions, answer questions, those kind of details. So I'm going to keep explaining that, because what happens is, and I'm not blaming anybody, it's easy to do. Not everybody watches every video, and people that do, watch a video don't watch all of the content in the video. So just because I say something one time doesn't mean everybody gets it. Heck, I've had people that have been watching the Turbo Cobra channel for 5 years and just now realizing that I have a second channel, even though I've mentioned it several times in the videos on the Turbo Cobra channel. So anyway, new people are joining all the time, and I thought I would just give you a little, background on myself. And hopefully nothing in this is going to come out as, me sounding bragging or whatever, but I do think there's people out there that wonder about things, and people, think that somehow somebody gave me all this, or I was born, trust fund rich, or whatever, and that's not the case. And but I thought I'd just kind of start from the beginning, and this could be a very long video and you might be very bored, but I'm going to try to skip along pretty fast here. So I was born in Alabama. My parents, my mom was 15 when she got married to my dad, and was 16 when I was born. And after they got married, a short time into it, she just kind of went wild, and they both grew, both of my parents were, their families were very religious, and they actually met in church at some kind of church meet or revival or something like that. So not too long into the marriage, my mom just sort of went wild and started, having these parties at the house. And honestly, I don't know all the details about it. Nobody has ever shared all the details, but some of my relatives have told me some about it. And it didn't take long where, that marriage didn't last, and I was just, a few years old, 4 or 5 years old, when, they got a divorce. And so my dad got primary custody. We lived with him until we got 13, me and my sister. She's a couple years younger than me. And she still lives in Alabama, and her name is Gloria. And so when I got 13, we could make the choice to go live with my mom. And we make that choice because she was a lot less strict. My dad was like very, very strict, very much a disciplinarian, and very rigid routine. And honestly, I appreciate all of it, and I'm not complaining about him, but it wasn't a lot of fun a lot of times as a kid. And not that it should be fun as a kid, but compared to what happens in this day and time with kids being raised, I'm not going to say I was beat or mistreated or abused, but I'm going to say that it was so strict, and all the way up to the line of that, about as close as you can get to that as you can imagine. And a lot of you probably can relate to this, because that's kind of how kids were raised back then. And I wouldn't trade anything that's happened to me, anything at all, for anything. Everything that's happened to me is just part of my life, and I don't have any regrets. I don't wish I had a different life. I don't worry about any of that kind of stuff. So don't take any of it as complaining. But anyway, so when I went to live with my mom, and I spent the summers with my mom as well, when my dad had primary custody. And my mom's side of the family, she lived with my grandmother, and she was married a few times on and off over the years, but none of them really stuck. I think she was married maybe 3 or 4 more times after my dad. And so anyway, we worked in the fields in Alabama in the summer when I was staying with her. Earned money and just, a lot of hard work and, manual work in the fields. So I learned how to work hard and learned how to, sort of do the mental grind thing of pushing through, 100-degree days and super humid days in the middle of the summer. Really, have a great appreciation for that. And so anyway, fast forward until I was about 16, and there's just some amazing little turning points that really, little things that happen that make a big difference on the trajectory and the path that you're on. And if those little things don't happen, it could change significantly, But the one thing that really stands out to me was I had turned 16. I went and put my job application in at several local companies, grocery stores, supermarkets, fast food places, although there weren't really many that fast food places at that time where I was living in Alabama. But a few weeks after putting those applications in, I got a call from, you guys don't laugh, Lucky Supermarket, who was the local fast grocery store supermarket chain there, and they wanted me to come in for an interview. Well, that same day, I had gotten invited to go over to a friend's house. I don't know, something about riding 4-wheelers down to the creek or something. And I, being a kid, I told him no, I couldn't come that day. I'd have to reschedule it because I was already going to do something else. And you know how it works in fast food and retail like that, hiring high school kids. Well, they just move to the next person. They'll call people until they get somebody to come in for an interview. I didn't realize that. My grandmother and my mom both called the store. They knew the manager at the store and begged him to give me another chance at the interview. And so he did. And so if it hadn't have been for my mom and my grandmother, kind of being pushy and seeing that as an opportunity, because I probably would have missed out on that. He would have, hired somebody else. Well, and why that's important is, so I go to the work at the supermarket, and then I start going to college, which is this book here I'll show you in a little bit. After high school, when I turned 18 or whatever. So I worked at the supermarket for a couple of years in the local town, and then I was going to school an hour away, and they had another store over there, and so they let me start working in that store to be closer to school, and I moved over there. And as it worked out, the owners of that supermarket chain also were part owners in a computer startup company, and this was in 91, 92 time frame. And so when I got finished with school, going to school, which was just a 2-year electronics degree, but also had a small part of it that was focused on PCs, they gave me a recommendation. The owners of the company gave me a recommendation on the computer side to get an interview there. And from there, it really just created a platform and a launching point to, take off and have a great successful career in IT that I really, appreciated. But it's funny, if you trace all that back, those little steps, all the way back to my grandmother and mom calling the store, and begging for me to get that interview. So anyway, the one thing that I think, because you guys have watched me in the videos, you see me learning and, and all this stuff, and I'm not very smart. Okay. I am a very slow learner. And you guys that are my friends and like Shut Your Face Garage, for example, who basically taught me how to paint, over the internet, text messages, phone calls, videos, that kind of thing, sees that I'm not a very quick learner. It takes me, it takes me quite a while. You have to tell me and show me a bunch of times before I go, oh, even like the paint gun. Shut Your Face Garage has been telling me for years to get a different paint gun, and here it is years later, I finally get the one he's been telling me about, and wow, what a difference it made. But anyway, not wanting to get off on that. The point of it is, I'm not that smart. I am not at all somebody that just is lucky that just you can show them something and they have a photographic memory, they can immediately jump on it. But I would be willing to challenge many people in a who can persevere contest, because in spite of that inability to learn, part of it is I have learning disabilities. I don't want to paint a bad picture about myself, but I can't read very well. I can't, and I think a lot of people that make their way into information technologies, depending on what part of it you're in, being a technical technician kind of guy, or people that are doing welding, machining, fabrication, I think you guys may share this same thing with me, where a little bit of dyslexia, definitely ADD. I'm just going to confess, I have never read a book from cover to cover in my entire life. In school, no matter what. And the only books I've been able to comprehend from cover to cover are audio books or streaming books online that have audio and pictures that go with them. Now those I can, and even those are a little bit of a stretch for me, but it's so, and with the advent of technology and all the smartphones and all that, it's even harder, because we've gotten so used to, oh, did I get a text message? Did somebody, like my this or that, or YouTube comment, or, whatever. It's really, really hard to concentrate sometimes. But I already had concentration issues before that. The point I'm trying to make is that if you are committed to something and you're serious about it and you really want to learn it, it doesn't matter if you have learning disabilities. It doesn't matter if you can't read well. You'll do it, and if you're not really serious about it, then you won't. That's just a fact, and how many times have you see people, like, I'll give you a quick story. I had a guy that was interviewing with me here, and he goes, I've been really wanting to get into welding. And I just said, really, how so? What do you mean by that? And he's like, oh, I just, I see it. I've really been wanting to get into it. And so I just started asking him a few questions about it. Like, well, have you thought about, do you have a welder? Well, no. Do you watch any YouTube videos on welding? No, I haven't really gotten to that point yet. So then you're like really questioning that. How much do you really want it? Because if it's like me saying, I really want to lose some weight, but for me to actually lose weight, I'm going to have to make a serious commitment, and it's going to have to be a daily commitment. And sometimes I do it and sometimes I don't, and you see the success I have, it's not very good. It was the same thing if you want to start a business, or you want to learn to weld, or you want to restore an old car, or learn to paint, or whatever. If you just keep saying, well, I think I'm going to do that, or I've really been wanting to do this or that, it's just never going to happen. But if you jump in and make a full commitment to it, and it's not just a commitment, it's really demonstrated consistency over a longer period of time. It's really, to me, what I see from people is the answer, and because you can buy a welder and practice one or two times and then you don't do it anymore, or you can have a lathe and do a couple of projects on it and go, oh gosh, reading a micrometer and four-jaw indicating and all this stuff, it's just making my mind explode. I don't really want to do that. Or you can just kind of keep chipping away at it and go, look, I got a couple hours here. I need to really kind of dig into this and understand it, because you watch people like This Old Tony, or even E. Formats, who's one of my subscribers. You could just tell these people are gifted level smart. They just pick up things just instantly. And there's a lot of the rest of us that don't have it. And if you see any success, it is going to be by very hard work and a lot of persistence and consistency. And I'm not self-deprecating. I'm not trying to downplay myself or be hard on myself or anything. It's just a fact. I mean, it is just a fact. So anyway, 1991, I got my first job in information technology, and I got a few artifacts going through some old stuff here as part of the move, and continuing to unpack. I just thought I'd share a couple of those with you. They're kind of funny, kind of entertaining. But information technology was important to me, and no matter what I was doing at the time, my first job in information technology was working for this company that I told you about, and we were a IBM Hewlett Packard compact reseller, and we resold computers to big companies, and we did upgrades. And if you wanted, a lot of times those systems would come kind of bare bones and wouldn't really have like, I'm trying to remember back, I think like IBM PCs by default didn't have any RAM in them. So when you ordered a PC, you automatically had to buy a RAM upgrade. And depending on what year it was, that got more progressive. But so I worked in the configuration center, and I made $7.50 an hour. That's what they hired me in at in 1991, which for me, I was ecstatic about. I was just unbelievable. And I was given a commitment: if you get your Novell Netware certified networking engineer certification, we'll pay you $30,000 a year. That was kind of the goal I was going for. And so, I desperately wanted to move out into the field and do field engineering and that kind of thing, and not be working in the warehouse doing, installing memory upgrades, because it was, once I learned it, it was production work, and I did it for 2 years, and I grew impatient with it, but I just kept doing it and working as hard as I could. And I would stay there, and because I was getting paid hourly, I would stay there as long as I could every day, and often come in on the weekends. If there was stuff to do and machines back there to build, I was there doing it. And but today it's so many people. I mean, everybody I've had working for me here, man, as soon as 4 or 5 o'clock comes, they are gone. I mean, they can't wait to leave. And you got all this equipment in here. If you took me back to, when I was in my early career, I would have been in here saying, hey, would you mind if I stay around off the clock and, mess with some of these machines so I can learn them? Because I don't want to grind flags all day. I want to TIG weld. I want to, do these other things. But you just don't, people aren't willing to, they want you to actually pay them to do it, and so it's different. I don't know if you guys watch Tucker Carlson or know who he is. If you're a liberal, you probably don't watch him. If you're a conservative, you probably do know who he is. I don't really care if you're liberal or conservative. It's not that big of a deal to me. I watch both. But Tucker Carlson had a guy on his show, I think it was Friday night, a young kid that started a company, and it's called Praxis, Praxis. And Mike Rowe kind of got this started on the show, but this Praxis company is advocating that young kids should skip college and come in, and they will take you through this boot camp of a skills assessment and work to place you in, skilled labor jobs like, pipe welders and electricians, plumbers, the trades basically. And so this kid is, I mean, if you watch that interview, it's just amazing how he is so different than the other kids that are his age. So anyway, so fast forward, I spent 25 years in information technology, and that was 25 years of pushing every day, pushing to try to go to the next level. And because I'm a slow learner, it took me a while. I kept working my way up, and probably in my mid-20s, 5 years into it, I was already in management, and pretty much stayed in multiple levels of management the rest of the time. But I stayed pretty close to the technology. I would go out to the field a lot and, really love the techs and the engineers and doing that kind of thing. Anyway, so, when we started restoring the old car, the Mustang, with my son on YouTube, that kind of led me into doing the fabrication work. And I somehow started watching the machinists on YouTube and the CNC people, and it just, literally in the last 3 or 4 years, I've just made the decision, this is what I want to do, and just made a commitment to do it. And but I think the key is you can't just decide today, hey, I want to do this, and then it's going to happen, or you can just start and do it tomorrow. I made a lot of sacrifices to do that, and 2 or 3 of the hobbies that I used to do outside of work, I quit all of them. One, they were time consuming, and 2, they consumed a lot of money. One of them was I had a drag car. There's old videos on YouTube about it, and I spent tons and tons of money on that and time, and so I sold it. It's probably going to be, I love cars, and I'd love to build another car, but it's probably going to be, at least a few years before I do that, because it's in direct conflict with what I just got through telling you is, if you really want to do something, you have to go all in on it, make a strong commitment to do that. So anyway, there's a story for you. If you're still hanging around, I'm gonna stop the camera and show you a couple of these little artifacts I thought were kind of cool, and then we'll end the video. And I got to get to work. Got stuff to do. It's Monday morning. Got tons and tons of things to do out here, so gonna get to it. I was just going to show you a couple of these. You see, that's 1992, some kind of award recognition thing there. Here's, I started getting information technology certifications, IBM business partner, the different models. And today this would be nothing. Back then, this was a big deal. If you got these certifications, you really were increasing your demand in the marketplace and how much money you could make. And I don't know if any PC guys out there remember the PS2, Personal System 2, where IBM came out with this thing called the microchannel bus, versus the ISA bus. And it was going to be like the next biggest thing. And, it had everything about it was proprietary. You had to buy all microchannel IBM cards to go in it, video cards, any kind of upgrades that you did. I don't know what this one was, but we'll take a look at it here real quick. All right, Epson printer, certification, just some stuff there. This was one of my manuals from college, and this was, you can see the dates on some of this stuff. I don't know if it's showing up on camera or not, but 9/23/91, 9/24/91, calculations, firing voltage, description of circuit operation. Just saw Zener diode there. You electronics guys probably gonna see this and think it's pretty cool, but lots of circuits that we had to draw out, various formulas and calculations on circuits. This was extremely difficult for me to learn because of my learning disabilities, but I never missed a night of class. I went this was a 2-year program, and I went from 5 to 10 every night, Monday through Friday, and I had perfect attendance because it was just that important to me. So anyway, I just thought that was kind of cool. All right, guys, that's it. I'm going to upload this. We'll be back to showing you other cool content here as we go throughout the week. See you guys.